Hey YouTube! Today we are talking about Instagram again. In this video I show you how I organize my publications around the method that for me is the most efficient to gain visibility and natural reach. I will show you how I built this to be as productive as possible and minimize the time invested thanks to a tool called Notion, which will just revolutionize your life. No, I'm serious. This is the second part of my previous video and I strongly invite you to go and see it before this one if you are interested in a digest of all the known and verified methods to grow on Instagram account. I also talk about my personal case and how before I switched from Instagram to YouTube, I had grown an account in 3 to 4 months, which is not too bad and could have been much better if I have invested a little more time in applying my own advice. So yes, as before, I'm still not here to sell you thousands of subscribers in a few days. You starting to know my opinion on this. If you want to explode on Instagram in a very short period of time, in my opinion, you only have 3 solutions today. Buy followers, which will be composed of nice robots, which is not necessarily a good idea. If you want to do it cleanly, you have to have a big marketing budget that you can invest in advertising, but like communication agency budget. Or finally, get a buzz on the internet one way or another and bring that audience back to your Instagram account. But for all of that, you're on your own. Today I'm talking about the method that takes sweat and a lot of time. You've probably noticed that in the previous video, I didn't talk about a very important element on Instagram, hashtags. The whole strategy I'm proposing today revolves around them since they are the discovery tool at the heart of Instagram construction. Each hashtag has a dedicated page, which means that if it is well chosen, it allows you to reach the target audience that corresponds to you. How does it work? For example, love is the most popular hashtag, with almost 2 billion uses. Now you might think, great, there's a huge audience for this word. I'm bound to be a hit if I use it. It's just the opposite. The more the hashtag is used, the harder the competition is, and the more you'll be drawn in a mass of other images. The goal will be to find hashtags with a strong enough audience to show that there is interest from a potential public, but at the same time in a niche that is narrowed enough to not face too much competition. You can find several types of hashtags. Hashtag associated with a product or service, to a particular season or event, to places, to quotes, or acronyms. You have hashtags dedicated to particular marketing campaigns or brands, and you can create your own hashtag associated with your identity. We also talked about curative pages in the previous video. A curative page is a page that doesn't create content but uses the content of other creators. It's a kind of online magazine if you want, which will promote artists that fit their niche, and some of them can bring a lot of exposure. It's a business model and you can pay to appear in their publications, but not always. By using their hashtags and mentioning them on one of your images, you allow them to discover you and potentially, if they like your work, to share your photos. And even if that doesn't happen, it's still a way to be placed on the hashtag page itself, which is a good thing if your work fits the editorial line, since people potentially interested in that particular style will be looking at that page. For me, it's the hashtags related to a specific niche or a precise description of your image that are the most interesting to use. You have quite a few online tools to find hashtags with associated analytics, but most of them are paying, and quite frankly, I haven't seen enough interest to invest. Usually, I simply browse Instagram from image to image relative to my niche and not the hashtags used. Another website I like is Display Purposes, which can help you find interesting hashtags, even if they are usually a bit too popular for my taste. On each of them, I will analyze the content, if it matches my style and what kind of image, and most importantly, I will note how many times the hashtag has been published, because that's how I will organize them all. And since we're talking about organization, now it's time to talk about Notion. Sorry, I'm very excited. If you're only interested in Instagram, you can speak ahead to this point, but I guarantee you want to hear what I have to say. It was 2 friends who introduced me to this tool a year and a half ago, TIMECODE, when we were talking about productivity and we live in an era where we have to manage so much information that we regularly delegate it to memory tools, usually apps. A calendar for dates, notes in various forms, to-do lists to help you stay on track with your projects, bookmarks of websites visited or to be visited. If you have 100 tabs open continuously in your browser, just clap your hands. But this proliferation of tools on all sides doesn't help you to have a global vision of what you're doing, and it will fragment the information until it becomes confusing. As a result, the mental load you're supposed to reduce by delegating to these tools is just transferred to the management of the tools. Notion is designed to bring all these apps together into a single platform and become your second brain. I know all-in-one solutions trying to play all the games is the best way to be mediocre everywhere. And that's where Notion stands out for being good at everything. So I prefer to warn you, yes, I'm going to praise them in this video and it's not sponsored at all. Hey Notion people, if you're watching this, I love you guys. Literally, my entire life is on Notion. I use it as a quick note-taking tool for managing my schedule and the tasks I have to do, as a CRM or a CMS, as an accounting tool. My YouTube channel is structured around Notion, between scripts, managing the production of the video until its publication. I'm also using it as a mood board, and I'm working on a template that will be a mix of a storyboard merged with a call sheet for my video productions. But I also use it in my personal life by listing the books I want to read, the places I want to travel to, the things I need to learn. In short, once again, my whole life is in Notion. So this video is not at all a tutorial of this application, but to explain to you the principle, it's a list of tools that you will be able to associate with databases, spreadsheets if you want. You have several ways to visualize this data. In a gallery, in a Kanban if you are a Trello fan for example, or in a calendar view. But in addition, to be able to link the databases together, each line, each occurrence, it's linked to its own page where you can use all the tools again and even recreate a new database. It's an endless Russian-doll system. I'm not going to go any further in the explanation for this video, but if you're interested in starting Notion, and I recommend it, I will just give you one advice. The only concern when you start is not to learn how it works, because it's very simple. Seriously, they couldn't have been more intuitive. No, it's more that it's so vast, the possibilities are so limitless that you will find yourself overwhelmed by it and you don't know where to start. I told you that I manage my whole life with it, but it took me more than a year to get to this point. It's done little by little. Start slowly, just with small to-do lists, a first database to manage emails, for example, or something simple, and implement from time to time something new. Last info, Notion is free. Yeah.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
Of course, you have a paid version with more options, like collaborative work, stuff like that. But to tell you, I've got the paid version because considering my use of the software, it will seem absurd not to pay for it. But everything I've shown you here can be done with the free version. And the same goes for what we're going to do with Instagram. However, if you don't want to use Notion, that's fine too. What we're going to do is just a principle of organization. You can do it in a spreadsheet, on Google Drive, whatever. Come on, time to practice. How I organize my Instagram from start to finish. We'll talk about it briefly in the previous video. The feed, which is the arrangement of the images on your profile, is what will allow a user who lands on your account to decide whether or not to follow you in just a few seconds. The goal is to try to find a graphical coherence so that your portfolio is seen as a whole and not as a succession of random images placed next to each other. The most obvious way to do this is, of course, to use a color theme, or a unique way to edit images, a filter if you want, even if I don't like the term, which will always be the same and will harmonize all the pictures. But it can also be done through the structure, by playing with the vertical and horizontal alignment, by giving a particular framing to the images, by playing with different types of content. Let's take my example again. My feed is built on a vertical scheme. It is composed of two lines of portraits that frame a central line with landscape, travel or urban photography. Basically, two faces and geometry. This is one of the problems that explain why I post so little on Instagram at the moment. One, it's much harder to travel at the moment, so I don't have any more content that could fit my central line. And two, I'm not producing any more of the same type of portraits on an ongoing basis. Yeah, with the vlogs on the channel, the purpose is to try different types of photography or different styles, which prevents me from having a global coherence. As a result, it messes up my feed and it bothers me. I admit I haven't found a solution yet. Once I'm done editing an image and exporting it, I import it into a template I made in Photoshop, or I will adjust the image to the recommended resolution for Instagram to be as visible as possible on the feed. Once I have a certain number of images, I will try to arrange them in a cohesive way. For this, I use another template I made myself. I just have to drag the images into the folders and find the graphic combinations that work well. If you don't want to take the trouble to create these templates, don't worry bro, I'm here. You have a link in the description to go on Gumroad. There is a default price of $5. It's the price of a bubble tea. I have a little addiction with that. Sorry. But you can change the price to 0 and it's free. Don't worry, I won't blame you. Also note that if you don't have Photoshop, no worries. It works just as well with Photopea.com, which is a website. It's basically Photoshop for free and online. And if you want, you also have other online tools like Canva, etc. I'll let you do a little research. This template is just for a visual representation of what you will have on your profile. Once I'm satisfied, I will number the photos in the order of publication determined by this preview. If I have several pictures for a carousel, I use the nomenclature number plus letter. Once I have my images, I will plan and prepare them in Notion. I try to do batches of several weeks or even 2 or 3 months at a time, so we're good for a while. I use a calendar view, which allows me to check that the order of my posts is well respected between portraits and landscapes. Of course, in this example, it's like I post 6 times a week, but it's all fake. We both know it wasn't happened in a while. You can also easily adjust the date of publication. To create a new post, first I will give the number of the image, then the type it corresponds to. I have a small template to go faster, where I will write a caption much more engaging than "Hey, this is a great picture." I'll let you check out the previous video for more info on that. And finally, we are going to deal with the hashtags. Let's take this image of Claire. What theme could be associated with it? It's a portrait, obviously, but posed, so it's about modeling. There is a very sensual imagery, maybe even a bit bohemian. Finally, we can also note some physical features, like the fact that she is a redhead, curly. All these hashtags are therefore linked to particular themes, particular types. That's what I classified in Notion. Then I arranged these different themes according to the number of publication. And that's the goal, to try to find the best positioning between being as specific as possible to your image, use hashtags in your niche, and coherent with your growth and actual size. If you have 200 subscribers, there is no chance that a hashtag used more than 1 million times will bring you visibility, as we saw at the beginning of the video. You might think, oh, there's got to be a big audience for this one, but there's also a crazy competition. You will immediately be drawn in the mass, and your profile doesn't generate enough traction to be put forward. Position yourself more on niches and on a popularity of views in relation to the size of your audience. Apart from the number of posts, you also have to take into account the engagement rate needed to have a chance to appear in the top of the best posts, usually the first 9 images. The pictures that have the best engagement rate appear here from the first minutes of their publication. Instagram allows 30 hashtags per post, 10 per story. Some say 8 hashtags is a sweet spot, others say it takes a lot more. Personally, I can't say for sure, but I use around 20-25 hashtags. That's the way they are organized, in groups of 5. I can take 5 in portraits, 5 in modeling. I can pick a little bit everywhere in different genres and easily do the icons to go faster. Once you've copied and pasted your hashtag into your Notion calendar, you can move on to the scheduling. You've got plenty of apps that let you do that, like Hootsuite, Planoly. I personally use Later. I'm not going to advertise one in particular. They all offer a free version that allows you to manage one account, but with some limitation, like they don't allow you to plan carousels, which bother me a bit. If you really don't want to have to pay for their service, you can just copy all the captions and hashtags to a Google Drive file, set an alarm when you have the most traffic on your account, and just copy paste. It takes a little bit longer, but it works. So much for how I was organizing my Instagram account. You get it, I haven't been active enough on it for too long, but I promise I will try to get back on it. I really like this social media, yes, it's important for a business and even more for a photographer, but not as essential as you might think. I really send you back to the first video to find out what kind of profile you belong to and how to grow your account, and if it's worth the time and effort. Quite frankly, for me, I think what's most valuable in everything I said in these 2 Instagram videos is the introduction to Notion. Learn how to use it to work, study, get a visual on how to organize your projects. If you want me to make videos about it, tell me in the comment section. I just need to find a way to link it to photography or video, the theme of the channel. Okay, next video, back to the creative vlogs. Just to get out of here, I'm tired of sitting in front of a camera. Before that, since I spent a lot of time writing these 2 videos, if you're keen to give me a little like, or even better, share this video, don't hesitate. I will tell you to subscribe, but if you came here only for Instagram stuff, honestly, there's little chance I will talk about it again on the channel. I think I've covered the subject. So go see 2 or 3 more of my videos, and if you like them, then you can subscribe and activate the notification bell. Okay, see you mate, keep on creating.